Very rarely does a book come along that makes the world listen. It happened that way in 1960 when To Kill a Mockingbird was published. Harper Lee's book was a superb work of both fiction and reality. Fiction, because the people she created are not real, but reality, because the world she described is. The book is a look at the hypocritical, judgmental, and racist world we live in, but from the far more simple, uncomplicated, and unbiased 8-year-old eyes. It is written superbly and fluently, and its use of children as the lenses through which we see is an artfully chosen one. And to discuss this book with us is Pragya. Why don't you introduce yourself to us, Pragya?
Hello, I am Pragya Bhagwat and I am in ninth grade. I am a poet and writer myself, and I'm always looking for stories to inspire me for my next writing. I have a passion for reading books and novels. But apart from books, I also love to play games, be it either e gaming or sports. My favorite genre to read is thriller, suspense, and I always love a good book that makes me laugh.
Well, that's nice. I like a good book myself. So let's talk about To Kill a Mockingbird today. What are the major themes explored in the book, and how are they developed throughout the narrative?
The major themes vary throughout the entire narrative, as in the first part, it talks about Jem Finch or Jeremy Finch, Dill Harris or Charles Baker Harris, and Scout Finch or Jean Louis Finch being obsessed with a mysterious neighbor, Arthur Boo Radley. And it also talks about the system of schools in Alabama, including how Scout or Jean Louis had to make reading with her father Atticus a secret. After that, it talks about racism black or colored people face. It also talks about mixed people who are both black and white, and they are not accepted by either of the societies, as the blacks consider them to be white and the whites think that they are black. The theme progresses from childish bets like touching the Radley house and playing games the elders would not allow, like poker and Boo Radley, the theatre, to serious accusations that Atticus had to fight through for his client. And at last, a calm conclusion where Atticus gains the respect of all the colored people in Macomb County, and the kids finally find out the truth about their mysterious neighbor, Arthur Boo Radley.
Yes, the book and its themes do mature as it goes on, just like its characters. Speaking of, which characters stood out to you the most and why?
There were various characters throughout the book, like Jean Louis, Jeremy Finch, Atticus, Calpurnia, Aunt Alexandra, Arthur Boo Radley, and many more. But the character that stood out the most for me was Dill, or Charles Baker Harris. It's funny how Scout and Jem wait for Dill to come every summer and play with him. It's also funny that even after Dill being overly obsessed with getting Boo out of his house, is always supported by Jem and Scout. This shows the bond between these friends. Another funny thing is that Dill considers himself engaged to Scout and says he would not love any other girl in the world apart from her, and how he secretly kisses Scout when her brother Jem is not looking.
He is an engaging little rascal, isn't he? This book has raving reviews and just as many raving criticisms. Did the book engage you emotionally? If so, in what ways did it evoke a strong response from you?
At many points in the book, we see how the author takes us on a trip down the emotional lane. At many points, we don't just read but feel the story. Sometimes it's saddening for me how Scout feels trapped in the tangles of society. Like how her wearing overalls is not accepted by the women of Macomb County, and how they taunt her for not wearing a dress and acting like a lady. Then she tries to understand the difference between black and white, but her pure soul does not give her the reasoning she needed. However, she learned that it's not necessary that if you do not follow the society, you are wrong. Sometimes you have to pave your own path. Scout might not be the ideal lady like her Aunt Alexandra, neighbor Miss Maudie, but she in herself was a beautiful character who most kids in the world would relate to. Carefree, cheerful, enjoyable, and friendly, who at times loses her temper and beats people up. But she loves her father so much that she keeps calm no matter what. In the end, she finds herself being her own self. This for me is not only tear-jerking but also inspiring.
Was the plot of the book predictable, or did it surprise you? Did it have any major twists or turns that caught you off guard?
The idea that we have in our mind that the protagonist in a book or a movie always wins has always been there, but that wasn't the case in this book. When Atticus was in the courtroom fighting for Tom Robinson, he lost the case, but he did gain the genuine respect from the colored people of Macomb County. Another turning point was when, in the end, the person Jem and Scout feared the most saved them from Bobby Wills. That person was Mr. Arthur Boo Radley. This is not only a turning point in the book, it also reminds us of something we are told quite often. Never judge a book by its cover, even if by the cover you might feel scared upon even opening it. Sometimes people are like walnuts, hard on the outside, but once you open them, you will be in for a treat. That's why just try to lift the cover. Maybe you'll find a friend that never leaves your side.
We at Bookbibuli had recently completed our 1 year anniversary, and we've gone through several genres. Hopefully, you enjoyed the journey with us. Would you like to tell us something about that?
Bookbibuli is an amazing platform where kids like myself can read books without stopping and searching for another good book to read. There are many genres included in Bookbibuli: bawl my eyes out emotion, nail biting thriller, laugh out comedy, couch potato light read, dreaming the dream inspiration, and ready to brave it adventure. All of these, I must tell, have some of the greatest books in human history, and I would definitely recommend most of them for everybody to read.
Thank you. It's always great to hear interesting things about us. When I read the book, there were certain portions I knew would stay with me forever. What are some memorable quotes or passages from the book that resonated with you? Why did they stand out?
Shoot all the blue jays you want, if you can hit him. But remember, it's a sin to kill a mockingbird. Is saying that it's sinful to harm anything so beautiful and pure when it has done nothing wrong to you, only sing sweetly. Mockingbirds don't do one thing except make music for us. They don't eat up people's gardens, don't nest in corn cribs. They don't do one thing but sing their hearts out for us. That's why it's a sin to kill a mockingbird. Apart from that beautiful quote, there's another one. You never really understand a person until you consider things from his point of view, until you climb inside of his skin and walk around in it. But The Mockingbird is a beautiful book and it has endless quotes. Another one of them is, never consider an insult to be a bad name. It just shows you that the person who's saying it how poor that person is. Trust me, it doesn't hurt you.
Yes, those are all fine choices. Although my personal favorite is, I wanted you to see what real courage is. Instead of getting the idea that I was a man with a gun in his hand, it's when you know you're licked before you begin anyway, and you see it through to the end no matter what. What was the overall impact of the book? Did it leave a lasting impression on you? Would you recommend it to others?
Yes, the book is quite interesting, and it's not just another read. It's a shout out to the people who face any sort of discrimination. And it's as if through her characters, Harper Lee has come as a helping hand to all those who are not accepted by the society for no logical reason but the color of their skin.
What do you think of the character development of Scout Finch, and discuss the lessons she learns about empathy and understanding?
Scout Finch's character develops throughout the story from a carefree, tomboyish girl to a girl who feels to be stuck with everything in her life, including her father's case, her aunt's appearance, and trying to become an ideal ladylike figure. But soon she figures out her own path when she sees her aunt, Alexandra, being strong, unlike the usual tenderness she had when she found out that Tom Robinson had been executed. Scout said to herself, only a true lady like her could do it.
Yes, she is a fun character who continues to be a good point of view and morality. One of the major parts of her life, however, is her fascination with Boo Radley. What role does Boo Radley play in the narrative? And how does the mystery surrounding him contribute to the story's themes?
Boo Radley, or Arthur Boo Radley, was a person who fascinated Scout and the rest of her gang. They would bet on things regarding the Radley house, but Arthur Radley was not known by any of them personally. Scout says that he is feared across the neighborhood. Some neighbors said they saw him outside their windows at night, staring at them through their bedroom. Others think that he scratched their back door. When Scout and Jem found marks on their back door, they were almost sure that he did it, trying to enter their house and kill all of them. During school time, kids feared the pecans that fell down from the Radley's tree and said anyone who ate them would die. He had several accusations, like he stabbed his father with scissors, terrorized his mother when they had chained him to the bed. But in the end, it is after all Arthur that saves Jem from being killed by Bob Evans and instead causes him to die. Arthur does not seem to be a villain at all. Instead, he just seems to be a kind, introvert neighbor who most of the neighborhood does not understand. In the end, I would just like to say, the book itself is amazingly well written. The Old English it consists and the various different turns it has. Apart from that, it really relates to your real life. People are still being judged by their color and caste. The social prejudice is being faced by most colored people in the world, even though it has no logical reasoning. Again, I would like to repeat one of my favorite lines from the book. Shoot all the blue jays you want, if you can hit 'em. But remember, it's a sin to be a mockingbird. A thing so beautiful sometimes has no value just because of the color of their skin. And that beautiful thing is life. And some people might not believe it, but every single life has value, no matter if they're black or white.
Wow, Pragya, that's a sentiment and a half. You are completely right about the fact that each and every life on this planet matters. And unfortunately, you're also right about the fact that there are people who don't quite believe that. It's a good thing that books like To Kill a Mockingbird can change that. You've been very insightful, Pragya, and we thank you for being with us today. To Kill a Mockingbird is a book that was published at the right place at the right time. The Modern Uncle Tom's Cabin was a book written 5 years after Rosa Parks was unjustly thrown out of a bus, 3 years before Martin Luther King delivered his glorious speech at Washington, 3 years before John Kennedy was assassinated, and 8 years before Martin Luther King joined him. The book was written smack dab in the middle of the civil rights movement and was an incredibly essential part of it. Writing smoothly and skillfully, Harper Lee coaxes out a story about racism, hypocrisy, and innocence, which awoke the world from its stupor of indifference. Now it's time for Bookbibuli Read Reco. The book is recommended for children of ages 12 and above at least, with reading levels of 6. The book has a well-organized flow with a clear conclusion in mind throughout. The narrative of the 8-year-old scout is endearing and makes it a much simpler read. It allows the reader to both disassociate from the situation, but also ensures that they feel the injustice more keenly. In general, it is a weighty book, both on the mind and in the world. The reading trajectory that should follow are Yonder, Refugee, and The Hate You Give. And the obvious choice after reading this would be Go Set a Watchman. Well, that's all for today, folks. Happy reading!